Oh no, wait, no, didn't I listen to that? I'll put it in my search bar now. Oh yeah, we did talk about Dusty Springfield. Yeah, because I said that I knew the song, but I didn't recognize that version of it, so I'd never actually heard her. PVT, I think is actually the best matchup right now. I think it's very watchable. But I'm not gonna complain about TVZ. In the top right, it is Reynor. Bottom left, we have Byun. New maps, new patch. Point things out if it's actually applicable so much more often. I have had no reason to bring up the patch. It has not affected the game all that much. But I'll do it if it's necessary. This is from the Alpha X charity tournament. You got the replays if you gave them $5, and then some of that money went to charity, so it was a win-win. And thank goodness they didn't do something silly like play on old maps, old patch. No one wants to see that. Why people are even watching people ladder nowadays is beyond me. We all want to new stuff that apparently is not going to come until like a week before Katowice. It's great. It's cool. Speaking of Katowice, both these players will appear. Both of these players also into the main event already. They did darn good when it comes to StarCraft in 2022-23 season, because our season no longer lasts in an actual year. So we could see these guys face off against each other. Not exactly soon, but we could see them face off in the groups of Katowice. Don't know. That will also be revealed in the future, TM. But obviously we got something kind of cool going on. Ancient Cistern, which is a odd choice of a map name. But the 2 racks at the front is something that Byun has been doing. But then he adds on a 3rd barracks in the top, which I would say is not the most typical thing that he's been doing. So last time we cast Byun, I don't even remember who was against. He did 2 games where he did the forward 2 racks, built 3 Reapers, moved on into a couple different things. Moon Dance, kind of tricky about what they can follow up into. It can be very entertaining. But the 3rd racks, adding a little bit more pepper. Still none of them proxied. You still don't, I personally don't expect them to actually do a lot of damage. But, of course, with the trick of playing Zerg in general, really any StarCraft, but especially Zerg, is they're going to try to almost even under-defend. You don't want to over-defend, and then you don't have enough drones, and the rest of your game is screwed over anyways. So if you think it's a 2 racks and it's a 3 racks, whether it's Reapers or Marines, that could make you react in a very poor fashion. Why is 1 drone popping up as a kill? Hello? Usually it waits till after the first. It's 2 is the pop-up. Hello? This must be on a new mod. Okay then, that's cool. I'll take it. So a lot of Reapers coming forth here. Reynor actually does have a 3rd hatch already on the way. Drone getting sniped, you know, trying to actually move on over there. Or get found out. Wasn't a priority for Byun. It's very unlikely he'll kill an actual building hatchery, but it's also unlikely that Reynor's going to be mining from that too reliably anytime soon. The Queens are actually starting to get a little bit low. Certainly Byun knows how to snowball Reapers. He was the best at it, and perhaps even is the sole reason Reapers got nerfed. 1 Reaper did just die though, so F minus. But seriously, the Queens were so close to death. A couple of transfuses healing some of them up, more of them arriving, and speed getting ever closer to finishing, all kind of combined together to make the Reapers a little less of a threat. But sometimes the grenades go well, sometimes they do not. Still can go a little bit topsy-turvy. Factories on the way, command center on the way, obviously on location, because you walled off. No fear of any type of run-by, although a slowing run-by would be kind of comical. And that would be a fast one, but it's not going to happen. And now we have Reynor actually setting up for the big surrounds. There's not much that Byun can do to anticipate exactly where the Lings are coming from. No, maybe not actually going to go for the... Not run by, but rather try and start to dig into the supply depot, bring some of the Reapers back, I guess. Or even just cut off reinforcements would be totally fine. That's not currently what he's doing, though. But it seems like he's not too worried to have those Lings back at home. Even though the Reaper number is still... It's still pretty large. 4 Queens are not going to win against this. I think Byun isn't even pushing the issue because he believes that there's going to be Lings coming on top of him very soon. No way that 4 Queens without transfuse are just letting themselves stay out like that. And he said, I think this is even him checking, I believe. Like, and he's like, okay, nothing, all right, fine. One of these Queens should die. Feel so strongly about that. But it's getting closer to not dying because getting closer to having transfuse again. Nope, nope, nope. Reynor did bring those lings back around. So they are now prepared for the big old sandwich. The sandwich. Not quite gonna get it though. Byun able to escape up that north side, then try and hop down. It's gonna work out, actually. That's a pretty brutal location for the Reapers to chill out in. And Reynor kind of has to give up that goal, focus more on the macro side of things, which he has tried to do while also properly defending. So, tried, but he can only be so successful under the constant pressure of the Reapers. Actually gets a surround on them as they return home. Grenades not... Well, actually, they did pretty well. They did fine. 3 Reapers died. 47 Lings have died. Well, that's beyond for, I suppose. Good thing we nerfed those Reapers, isn't it? So Reynor, unsuccessfully taking out those Reapers, now has to worry about the Reapers again. So that's a real problem, right? So you can't just say, oh, okay, the Lings didn't do so well. Let me go ahead and build 20 drones. You have to build some army. That is quite worrying, because now these Reapers, they could backstab, they could take more fights if they really want to. They could even engage some of the smaller number of Lings. Probably can't engage a number of Queens at this point. But now they're going to be joined up, potentially, by 2 Medivacs and Marines. And that doesn't sound... It sounds comical, right? Like, oh no, the guy's the Reaper, the single Reaper from the early game joins up with that army. No one gives a shit. What if 12 Reapers that also can be healed by Medivac and also are pretty fast shooters join up with that? That's a lot. And Reynor has been struggling to basically keep afloat. I mean, I know that he's still doggy paddling here, but it's not looking so good. It feels like Byun is just one move away from suppressing him underneath the water. It's not here yet, but seeing a 6 worker gap as Byun... Actually, wait, no. Yes, I thought he finished 3rd CC. There it is. Has his 3rd CC done. I don't know, I just starting to feel a little weird about it. He did bring the 2 Medivacs forward just for the Reapers, so that wasn't a 16 Marine drop with it, which I think would have been quite scary. It's actually not even at 16 Marines yet, so... The Reapers, they get added mobility, something that was already very mobile. And they do get that healing, but Reynor had built a nice number of Lings to combat those Reapers. What he didn't build while making those Lings, of course, drones. So that's the real struggle there. Byun's moved on to a 3rd base, something that Reynor will be able to see. We are going to have upgrades about be even. No, that's only 1 evolution chamber. So we're going to have Byun with better upgrades. And Reynor still does not have some difficult hooks. Something also that has been affected due to all of this pressure has been that creep spread. The Queens have been trying to transfuse each other, keeping themselves alive, which I think 2 died. Okay, 2 died. Keeping themselves alive, as well as, I guess, just, you know, literally losing whatever creep timber that they actually try to put down. So there's not as much activity there. Be a little bit more proactive with it, because they are no longer the basis of the defense. But even then, it's gonna take a while to get some, what you would say is good creep spread. Byun sizing up an attack to the right side. That's 1 scan. Yeah, 1 scan, and then you're right into that choke. Run by setup for Reynor, certainly known for that. And his supply really does not look that bad at all. I was quite worried about the suppressed worker counts, and I'm still a bit worried about the multi-pronged pressure. But, okay, that Marines also died to that Widowmine. But Reynor seems to be doing all right. He's got enough to defend at home, as well as do a Ling run by, which Byun is able to see coming thanks to that Widowmine. Pulled the SCVs, no problem there. Oh, combat shield is only just halfway done. And it seems like we're not going to have as worrisome of a game. But now I got to look at the map. Started off with that big pressure. Have I seen Ancient Cistern for TVZ quite yet? I don't think so. A lot. I've seen it in every single TVP, actually. But TVZ, not so much. So obviously we have a Widowmine style. Multitasking is the way to go. It's actually a big drop in the pressure in the last minute, really. But where would you even do a main attack point? So we watch. These units definitely have to be picked up. Definitely. Guess you could go this way, kind of, maybe? Do you go that way? Do you break the rocks? What would be the main attack point? I'm not sure. Well, Byun may or may not show us, but so far just on the multitasking. Grabbing his 4th. Is that on command on location? Well, that's pretty bold, but it worked out. Now we do have 2-2 finishing up for Byun, as Reynor finishes up his 2-1. And it is just 2-1. I think the Reaper build can be very, very fun, but yeah, I think it would require a lot to actually make work. I mean, you're talking real theoretics, I suppose. Byun's kind of one of those players who, he has his own style. Very comfortable with the style. I think his style highlights his strength, so there's no problem with it. And he makes it look like it's totally normal. But I also believe that, you know, if you were to be really hypercritical and be very stubborn in your opinion about StarCraft, the way he plays might not be the best. Maybe you shouldn't ever open with multiple Reapers. Perhaps that actually has been a downside more often than an upside, but we'll see how this battle goes. Woodamind's chopping off some of the forward Ling Baneling, but more is coming on the backside. Limited room for Byun to actually go for any splits, but the sandwich is not quite intact. It's a bit sloppy. It's not quite coming in. All right, at the end there, it kind of came in, but Reynor was so freaking close. So close to actually getting that full surround so that Byun had no place to retreat to and was going to have rock in a hard place. Instead, the composition on either side, the timing of either side was just a little bit off so that one side got depleted before the other one could actually be a threat. Therefore, neither side, I guess, combined together to make even more of a threat, right? They were threatened by themselves, sure, but not as devastating as a true sandwich can be in StarCraft. That is an orbital. God, what a greedy guy. What a greedy guy. I think that's, it's fine. Don't even worry about it. All right, fine. Creep spread on the right side especially is really pushed forward here for Reynor. Gonna let Lackluster over here. His queen's quite high in energy. I see that. I see that, Reynor. And he has 5 bases situated, 87 drones. Hive on the way. Lurkers as well. Gonna complete his own 2-2 upgrades. That scan from Byun, pretty well timed. Gonna see that Hive halfway done, working his way up to Liberators, a Ghost Academy, getting those Marauders added on as well, 4 at a time, beefing up the army. This is often where you'll find Terran players really retreat into their own shell, suddenly get very, very shy, and for good reason. You know, that can change the pacing of the game quite a lot. And where Byun is known for his multitasking and his micro, he is not at all unfamiliar with the more passive turtle styles. I would say that he was actually even the worst, the most annoying about it when Ravens were still massable. I recall quite a few Byun games where I was like, oh god, here we go again. So he can do it, but Cure, I think, would have already kind of shrunk into his shell. Something I talked about watching a lot of the Cure games in the last month. But Byun, even doing a quad, was that a quint? Was that a quintuple? Was that 5 at one point? Doing a quad drop onto the 5th base, gets the kill. Wants to go into the main. That might be a Spore Crawler. Oh my god. Okay, well, those are 2 very weak medevacs that would have loved to have gone down. They were going to just slice right through there. Stop it. He's focusing on this battle over here. Apparently his medevacs will not die. But neither will the Zerg army over here. Nothing to actually fully combat the number of lurkers. So, gonna have to just hold the line, which is also very important. If Byun had not been able to intercept the lurkers here, what if the lurkers were already over here? Well, there are some liberators, so there's that. That's the kind of scary thing, is that once you lose control of that momentum, and you don't have that perfect late game army, lurkers in fine positions are almost unbeatable. Again, so if you don't have liberators or ghosts, right? Ghosts being the most important and most discussed of all the units, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But we do have some ghosts, and Byun is continuing to add those on 3 at a time, as well as some liberators, and still doing his drop to the north side, which he lost 1 medevac, now just losing another. Comes a more digestible double drop, I guess. Oh, okay. I was wondering why all the cats are in here. There is a fly in my room, and they're going absolutely bonkers. I wish you guys could see this. Real hunters chasing a fly right now. Anywho, lurkers now have their range upgrade, but not their fast burrow, so skedaddling away from a ghost snipe is still quite difficult to do. The numbers are kind of out on the new dynamic with ghosts and lurkers. The ghost change. And that it basically comes down to not much changes with the dynamic here. It's still very difficult, basically impossible, for Zerg players to evacuate If they're committed and don't pay attention and they try to evacuate, then they're gonna die. If they already realize they're gonna have to evacuate, as we see a command center die, then they're probably gonna escape. But that was kind of true to begin with anyways. So if they realize they're moving into a bad position, they don't even bother burrowing, do like a little half burrow before it gets canceled, and then they skedaddle, probably be fine. Doesn't seem to have changed too much, but for me, the jury's still out on that one, because TVZ is not the most common matchup that I'm casting right now. It's by far PvT and PvP, as well as just the actual Zerg and Terran's professional inputs, what they think is going on. I think the cat's caught it, guys. We get a GG for the cats. From 3 Racks Reaper opener into a long macro game that is prime StarCraft right here. It's what we hope for when we watch TVZ. So thanks Byun and Reynor for doing that. So this is one of the smaller chokes that we're going to see in a map, it feels like, when it comes to being out in the middle of the map. Parasitic Bomb, surprisingly annoying, well dealt with. This whole one drone appearing is freaking me out. And Byun has replaced, or perhaps double expand, I didn't catch it, but he is still on 5 bases despite that blip to the top left. I guess kind of tat for tat. Tit for tat. It's going to be this base taken down and this base taken down. We focus more towards the right side of the map, which Reynor was doing a great job getting creep spread on, but it's been cold a little bit, and just it's a lot to ask for creep spread to be available all the way to the bottom right. Those splits here, especially with the chunky units that are Marauders and Ghosts, are going to do quite well against the Ling Baneling, but the Lurkers still remain. The Ghosts are pretty much out of energy. They're getting dragged into it. Perhaps thinking he could actually get a good enough concave to deal with it, perhaps thinking they had sniped. Didn't really work out that way. And the medevacs are also out of juice, so if he's thinking, okay, I just need to take a second and heal up, and then I can take on 4 lurkers. Not exactly correct. Both supplies remain even. We're looking at a pretty much a small subsection of the army as the rest of it finally comes forward. Reinforcement for both parties coming in. Another good parasitic bomb actually being microed this time. Lots of damage done, especially with the Wood of Mines helping out. Thank you, Terran unit, for killing some of those medevacs. And once again, we actually are looking at a even supply. Byun's not looking to give up this situation, especially with the number of lurkers so low and them taking so long to replace. Could really help with his momentum, and his ghost count continuing to increase. He's going to be able to snipe not just the lurkers, but also, as you saw there, the hydras. The lurkers are going to try to form, but that scan revealed them. The scan also reveals a very lackluster fodder army. It's not going to be able to protect those lurkers, but the lurkers are going to form. Are they going to be good enough? I don't see a lot of snipes in those ghosts, and they're awfully close as well. Lings from behind, trying to get a little bit of that trap set up. The lurker spines are doing some damage, but the snipes are coming down as well, and Reynor's supply starting to plummet, as the lurkers really are the last line of defense. The reinforcements coming into the meat grinder that is the bio is just not being able to add up together. It's not cohesive. It's not working out to protect each other. They're not being buddies. And Reynor comes out of this fight, 50 supply down, probably going to tap out pretty soon, as the army, at this point, kind of circumvents the lurkers. Not usually advisable, especially with only 1 medevac. There's no get-out-of-jail-free card. And if they do have 40 lings and 10 banelings somewhere that you didn't expect, this army could die on creep. But Reynor was actually out of gas. There you have it, GG. Whoops, that's not the right one. You guys aren't supposed to see me. Just kidding, magic. In the top right now of Royal Blood, it is Reynor. In the bottom left, we have Byun. So Byun starts off with a 3 racks, which is 1 additional than a build y'all might be familiar with if you're watching this on YouTube. You can look back not that far and see another Byun versus Zerg match, where he was doing a couple of different 2 raxes. Well, I guess it might be a bit farther now. Time flies, doesn't it? But thinking of some of the ones that he did on Moondance, and some of the tricks that multiple Terran players were really trying to play around with on that map pool. New map pool, new strats. I'm sure we'll have new tricks as well, but if I recall correctly, which it is a fresh map pool for me, I only cast it, talk about it, and I don't play on it at all. So, like, yeah, once a week, whenever I cast stuff, I guess. It's a little more than once a week. But anyways, I don't think there's one where back base is available. Yeah. Not to say that there aren't some very interesting features on some of the maps that I'm sure can be abused, but No comparable one to Moondance. It is a best of 5? Let me go check this. It's possible all of the matches in the Alpha X tournament were best of 5s. I assumed the day 1s were best of 3s. All matches best of 5. Boom. Best of 5. Fixed. Don't need to worry about what happened last time. I did get hustled. Now I'm gonna be late for dinner. That's alright. Hopefully we get to see many of the new maps then, because I swear I still haven't seen one. I think there might be one that I have not cast on. I only recently cast the one with the pools and the Zelnagas after 2.5 weeks of trying to cast the new maps, so... Still more to discover. Yeah, no multiple barracks opener this time around for Byun, which... I don't know, I guess... trying to think of actually how that game went down. I still find them... I still would figure on the Zerg side of things it was quite annoying. Suppressed as it was, creep spread was denied, droning was incredibly difficult, and then there was the attempted takeover of the Reapers that resulted in failures. They had to replace those lings and then not make more drones, but Reynor made it seem as if it was fine. Did ultimately lose out, but a very long battle. A long game with lots of battles. I've been trying to take a different approach to this particular cast, as I had said I was going to do. In my preparation for Katowice video that some of you may have watched on my main channel, as we watch a 3cc build come through, by the way, and the Reapers was microed. Or I thought it could sacrifice itself for that creep tumor. It was wrong. Which is that I wanted to try and pick different styles to focus on for commentating. So usually when I commentate my own channel, especially for live streams, not the rocks, there you go. It's very relaxed, it's very chill, it's very much me discovering what the players have to give to us. So there's a lot of questions and thoughts and admissions of mistakes and just pondering, and it's very unofficial. So it's pretty different from what I usually do on the main broadcasts, depending especially on who I'm paired up with. And it's definitely just more keen on saying, why are they doing this? Okay, that's interesting, let's move on. This time around, and I actually try to get closer to a sportscaster cadence, an approach to it, as much as one can, as well as thus also being more of the hype, general vague description of strategies and analysis. The new maps were just too ripe to try and determine, try and figure out like what is good, what is bad. Let me take a look at this. And I'm just gonna watch the players do their thing. We'll see how that goes. It's really quite annoying when you do this style and you're the pointed play-by-play commentator and then the games are not at all interesting. Or to say they are not at all action-packed. Because the analysis person might be super interested in all the little details. But the play-by-play commentator is just waiting desperately for something exciting to happen. Fortunately, last game was pretty exciting. This game, we do have that slower start. Liberator gets taken down with only one... Is it bugging? Is it really been one, like, every single time I've noticed? Because last game, after the 4th time that one drone popped up, I did wonder if it was just bugged. But apparently we're good. So, never mind. 3rd CC setup, as I was saying. For Byun, it's already down on location. And Reynor, what has he scouted? Not too much. Kind of seeing the supply depot times, the Liberator opener. I mean, you really should anticipate that 3rd. And seeing that it's the weirdest place for barracks. I do not usually see the 4th and 5th barracks. Well, I've seen it in the natural for sure. But it looks like it's a part of the gas. This would be very confusing if you were only looking at the minimap. Very confusing. Yeah, the TSL tournament also used the Chrono Boosts on the production tab overlay. But I did not think that was one that had one pop-up. I know this seems very insignificant, and basically it is, guys. But it would almost always wait for more than one. Which, I guess thinking back on it, I think the reasoning that Ryan gave is, ooh, the queens are completely out of position, so hold on that thought. Marines and Hellions combining together, finding those queens, and taking out quite a few creep tumors. With the Hellions still involved as well, the Lings would be a little bit more careful with how they engage. Hellbats would be actually very, very, very scary, but that armory is not done yet. It is about to finish, however. The Marine count has been called a little bit. This is all happening rather far away from the Zerg's, I guess, main points, their main arteries, right, their hatcheries, so this should be cleaned up. The question is, the reinforcements come with the Hellbats, with the Widow Mines, with combat shields in 1-1, and does Reynor still have trouble? I don't see any Banelings currently being formed yet. I speak of the devil. Banelings being formed. Centrifugal hooks nowhere near complete. Queens already losing some of their sisters earlier on, haphazardly. Don't have a lot of transfuses right here, and this is looking quite bad for Reynor. He tries to get a bit of a surround, also get some of that Widow Mine friendly fire, was unable to find it. Okay, they're a little man there. But otherwise, that was not exactly the greatest. He is going to push this back, but it's concerning. The queens, all, I think, drawn out from their inject locations as well. That could be a future problem. Lots of creep spread did die, now has to be replaced. So again, lack of transfuse if there's any more momentum here. But fortunately for Reynor, that is going to actually cut off Byun's aggression, at least temporarily. Byun adds on that 4th command center as well as 2nd factory. Has his upgrades already on the way and is now heading towards the main with a quad drop. And finish my last point. Ryan, I think, wanted to make sure the overlay didn't get too cluttered. So 1 worker kill didn't really, usually is super important. Not into the main base. Oh, I got Skamaz, and that Widow Mine just Skamaz the hell out of Reynor. That was a good Widow Mine shot. Taking out pretty much all of the Lings. So the Hydra's left alone is something that sometimes Marines under Medivacs can combat, but just enough there that it wasn't game over, man. Byun kind of opened up a better avenue. That's a lot to replace, especially if Reynor has missing some of these injects. Luckily, his money's not that bad, so it's all right. But I'd still be worried with this drop technically still existing. Not too many Marines in it. It hitting to the right, and then Byun hitting to the left. Now, if the Terran's in control of that left to right type of scenario on a wide map that Royal Blood is, then it can be difficult for the Zerg as well, especially if they don't have as many Link Baneling as they're hoping for, to pull their entire army left and then their entire army right. But if Byun ever lets go of the momentum, then suddenly that left to right is going to be a real pain for the Terran. Maybe not when it comes to this 4th base. Maybe that's still okay, but the 5th base is quite a ways away, no matter which way you look. So right now, I'd say just the fact that Reynor has been on his back foot. He's been in a decent bit of trouble. Loses 13 drones right there as the bio just stutter steps into it. Now goes for the main base as well. Reynor is not exactly gaining momentum. And that big location, the big bases on the new maps. Who actually likes those? I mean, I guess we do to a degree, Terrans and Protoss, because there's so much space to put our shit. But that's a lot of space for drops to happen, or Blink Stalkers to blink up on. Anyways. Now the drop, wait, where did it go? There we go. Drop over to the left. It's going to enter into the natural. Byun pushes on the 3rd, of course, whatever this was, and still has a group of army over to the left side. So if he really wants to be the best at multitasking, got to be using all 3. So far, just using the 2, really focusing on the micro, keeping it alive. Those are random units in the middle of the map, by the way. A couple of Widow Mines positioned there as well. Drones having to be pulled, if not, to be put back on. This is way too much action happening as the Marines drop out into the main base. It's only Queens to defend. Mass transfuse is not going to be able to make Queens beat that many Marines. Lings are absolutely necessary. And the Baneling Hydra, I want to say that was mostly what this consisted of, does take on the attack on the right side. But more drones have gone down. Not too terrible, but overall in this game, how many have gone to their graves? 37. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. And they've been quickly replaced as well. The splits of Reynor's army have mostly been good. Just the tricky situation of the main base. I guess so much of that's just dead air in the back. Very abusable by the medevacs. And they did their job. They opened up this forward position a little bit. The lack of creep spread consistent from basically the very first attack to this position has, I think, really bitten Reynor in the butt multiple times. And we finally have that actual KO on the hatchery. It's completely gone kaput. And now Byun might even focus on other places. Creep spread to the middle's okay. But since that big attack catching Reynor off guard, it really has not been amazing. As a scan reveals nothing to defend in the main base and also no hive. I think Byun understands that he is in a good position. Could still throw it, of course. Miss position, miss micro, what have you. But right now it seems pretty good. Seems pretty good. He's going to continue hammering this point home, by the way. Just over and over and over again. On this base. And if this base falls, perhaps next time Byun will even just stay around. Start to encroach into the natural via this direction. Well, those banelings got some good connections, so I guess that's not going to happen this time around. Byun's supply still holding strong. And as Reynor now finds himself without banelings. That's a bit of a problem. 16 banelings are over to the left side, refusing to move in case there's another attack over there. But Byun had actually combined forces, I think, yeah, actually like 2 minutes ago. And has been using it all entirely on the right side. So Reynor is not just playing with 40 army supply down, but then some this particular engagement as the... Oh, no, there are 2 drops. Oh, those were the ones from the main? No, the main's also still under attack. Yeah, there were 2 drops. They were just hidden, I guess, maybe in the very, very top left. So he was right to put that there. But he's still struggling on the right side. I mean, without the creep spread to help out, it has been an absolute pain. Having to worry about exactly what is being sent in which direction is just really difficult to know exactly what's happening. And the only way you can ever feel confident enough to bring everything forward is if you actually just kill the damn things. Which so far, main base drop has been killed. 5th base still under attack. Finally, that's going to be killed as well. And it looks like Reynor is going to barely hold the front lines once again. Taking out a lot of those widow mines where they didn't get a shot is a great way to start the fight. Reynor never getting on the other side of the map, right? I think at any point in this game, Byun has taken the 4th base, 5th base is down, 6th and 7th are on the way. He did out on a Ghost Academy, but seeing as there is no hive, there's none of those big lurker, ultra broodlord units. I'm not sure going into Ghost is all that necessary. I do think a couple usually is beneficial though. So we might see him add a few, but right now it's about aggression, 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 and then the macro back at home is easy as pie because nothing is threatening you. You are all focused on what you are doing, and now the Zerg is responding, less so about preparing for a potential Zerg run-by, which usually Reynor is very good at doing, at least slipping something in there, not even necessarily to do a lot of damage, but just to go ahead and get something so the Terran has to worry about them. And that's just not happened in this game. Reynor's always been defending just a little bit too poorly as well. As that main base goes down, the lair also does get reset. He's finally going to make a move. I think this is the farthest he's gone in this game. This has been the end point of his army movement for so damn long, but as he actually wishes to perhaps go across the map, he still has the drops in the main base to deal with. So much dead space. Holy shit, that's a lot of dead space. And then there's a planetary anchoring this defense that Byun can always fall back to. So that's going to be really tough. Very, very tough to actually do anything about. Perhaps Reynor can continue defending with the army that he has, if he can continue getting 1 base at a time. In this last couple of minutes, it's been this base, the middle one being taken. But eventually, you will run out of steam. It's very possible that eventually you will take too bad of a fight, and then Byun will actually win, which hasn't quite happened yet. But unless you get something else going in terms of your composition, or at the very least, again, those Ling run-bys, getting some more franticness going, it's going to be the same story told over and over and over again. Perhaps even a worse story told, as we now have triple factory. He had it on 2 factories at one point, so he was working off a single one for a long time. Very bio-heavy, this game. But now we're going with the triple tank, and since the hive is probably not on the way, right? Byun doesn't know, but he knows he killed that lair. It's probably not being close to finished. It's a good chance those tanks are going to arrive, and there's not going to be any Vipers. So there could be lurkers technically, right? But they wouldn't have any other upgrades, so they're not necessarily all that great. The hive is finally started. Not even again. This is the first time he's been trying to go to a hive. But Byun has already produced, I think, a decent amount of tanks. 3 of them about to be on 6. Just going to happen when you have triple factory. Attempted another base. It's going to be denied temporarily by a couple of Lings. Hey, that's something. Considering that hasn't even happened for these other bases, that's a pretty good sign. Scan reveals defense in the main base. It's not even a juicy target anymore. No drones, not a lair anymore. Natural would be a bit better, actually. But now we have a kind of sticking points of this map. I wondered on this map where that would be. And we find at least one of the options of the Terran to anchor themselves. And we can see how brutal that is, actually. So much of the engagements have been happening on the right side. Drop does go into the natural and gets the Lurker Den. Gonna reset that. So close to the high finishing, too. Reynor was probably waiting in anticipation to start up one of those upgrades. Now gonna be reset. And just not be able to make Lurkers in general. Yeah, the attacks were all happening on the right side. The left side wasn't really paid attention to for the longest time, so never had very good creep spread. This was kind of replaced from earlier, but this was never very good. And these tanks help to clear out this space as well as this one. Now, this one's a gold base. This one's always risky to take, so that's kind of fair's fair. But... So we enter into 17 minutes of Reynor holding on. Sometimes feels like by the skin of his teeth. We do have some of the more outlying bases being the only bases. So Reynor won't be able to just simply say, oh, I can't get that really forward base. I'll just take, this safe one. That's not going to happen anymore. And his safe ones are starting to literally run out of minerals. Ditto with Byun, but we know how mobile those pesky Terrans are when it comes to taking bases. Need a base? Have an orbital. Ling run by in the orbital? I'll just place the SCVs with 15 command centers. That type of thing. It seems like this game has really calmed down. That's suppose what happens a lot of times naturally in TVZ late game for one reason or another. In this case, I guess I'll leave it up for other people to decide, but whether or not Byun should have let his foot off the gas to go into these tanks. Considering how late that high technology was for Reynor. Could he have just continued hammering home with the bio? But then, yeah, the tanks would have arrived on the front lines before Vipers were involved, and they did. And they helped take down two potential bases, really. I guess they weren't minding so much. Well, this one was. This one definitely was, actually. So this one was potential base. But it does slow down things. And in that slowdown, Reynor is able to collect what he has, finally grab that hive, finally grab the Lurkers, and get those upgrades on the way. Range first, followed by that digging speed, whatever the hell it's called. This base was denied for a while. It's still being denied to the bottom right. Byun maybe losing a little bit control of the situation, but still, compare the mini-map. Just look at the mini-map. And I would not feel very comfortable for the Zerg situation. Still not a lot of creep spread. It's hardly even a lot of map vision. And while the large map and both in, basically in the left to right, the dimensions of the map often favor the Zerg. There are some critical points, kudos to the map maker, to try and make that a little less abusive. We do have a lot of the bases of the defender being up on a high ground, so that's nice. But then you also have, for instance, these rocks. So if Reynor wants to dive on top of this base, kill it, and then retreat over to the right side, it's going to take a little while longer because he has to kill rocks. And if he does that, we again have those chokes. So if he says, okay, I'm going to take this base down and then move on to that one, what if a bunch of ghosts and bios waiting? It's not going to be so easy. So there's some issues to just being able to simply go left, right, left, right, left, right, up the middle, left, right, that we did see. And we'll still see, of course, but on the old map pool. So Reynor has to be very careful with the engagements that he takes to not overextend in one direction or another. His bank is looking fine at this point. Things really have calmed down in the last 2 minutes, so the bank has been accruing here for Reynor as he finally stops having to take engagements. Byun once again trying to get some mobility more so than just trying to get a main push out in the map. Does find the gold, but then loses a lot of his ghosts, most of his army, in fact, as that medevac goes down. And it seems like Byun is starting to lose control of this game a little bit. Still confident as ever, building the command center on location at the gold, right underneath the Zerg's nest. Not gonna happen. Quick cancel on that one, and Byun is going to have to try again. That is not a cancel on that one. That was a straight up kill. Byun's not the one rolling in cash. Reynor's 4K, 2K. Looking better than ever, really. He survived the onslaught that was Byun's mid-game. And now looks to be thriving's too strong of a word, but he's doing really well in the late game. $11 ghosts in the field for Byun. 14 tanks. Damn. That's a lot. And they are rather well spread out. Spread out, but still numerous. Might just be... Well, sometimes a down, sometimes an upset, I guess. In this case, I'm not sure. I have to watch that again. Of course, not all 14 tanks were on the front lines, but apparently 12 out of 14 were, and they are all dead now. Wow. So yeah, I think that actually might have been a problem. Beyond that, might have been a problem. Is he getting building armor on purpose? It's absolutely a thing, and it's actually quite helpful once you're done with 3/3 upgrades. You definitely want to go into the high-sec auto tracking and building armor. Sometimes with that tank line, depth is a benefit, and then sometimes the depth just means that, you know, half the tanks aren't exactly firing to help out their buddies. That seemed to be a little bit of the problem there, and then there is such a thing as balance. Balance in all things, guys. You do have, I think, a situation where most of the defending army was tanks, and the bio is a little lacking. That's, you gotta pick and choose, right? I think now the setup is looking good again. I mean, you still got some city, you got the planetary. Tank number is still okay, it's not 14, but it's up to 6. And ghosts are now kind of anticipating the engagement. Oh, this tank was actually really nicely placed. Yep, EMP hit the Vipers that time as well, so only one blinding cloud. Maybe that was 2 blinding clouds went off, but not nearly as effective as an engagement, actually. Not nearly as effective of an engagement, so get the replay, dissect the reasons as to why those 2 engagements went very differently. The planetary did fall, but Reynor spent a lot in that attack, and it's not too quick to replace when literally your base is right next to theirs. That did not take long for Byun to go across and get a pretty much free hatchery kill. Drones are evacuated, and Reynor does have the left side pretty securely at this point. Just nothing's heading over there, and he's even taking arguably one of Byun's bases. But Reynor is going to lose 2 bases for that faulty attack, as Byun just kind of happily, quickly, no big deal, replaces the planetary once we get enough gas, I guess. He is still building 3 tanks at a time, handful of liberators, whatever else costs gas, does need the gas. 17 ghosts. Some people say that you can't go wrong with all ghosts. I don't think that's actually true, but some people out there, 17 is great. Perhaps if Reynor does move away from lurkers, it might not be the best number. More like 12, perhaps. But right now, we do still have some lurkers, and you do still have to deal with Vipers, so EMP is still going to be great. This is the new patch, as well as the new maps. This is apparent. Wait, is that... That is a super small choke. That is not what I was thinking those rocks did. What? Okay. Well, that's a thing. Anyways, the EMP is less effective, basically, than it would have been at 25 minutes. It's more effective when you first get Ghost. It's less effective if you think you're going to get shockwaves. Doesn't exist anymore. EMP has been cut a little bit in the late game. So, the Vipers theoretically have a better chance of surviving. Or, you know, obviously having energy, I mean. Planetary will not go down. Which actually kind of, I am a little surprised. Usually you see crackling at the top of the planetary and it's just like, boom, instantly gone. But nope. We got some Hellbat harassment. Don't see that too often at 25 minutes. And a main engagement once again in the middle of the map, which I really do still think is great for these tanks. I mean, the tanks slowed things down. They let Reynor stop taking battles over and over again. Let him expand across a very large map. But we do still have the power of the push with this sturdier style. The one that anchors itself and is incredibly difficult to displace. They go EMP the Vipers, so the Vipers aren't necessarily a golden option here. And in this case, that they die. What am I looking at? Why are you not jumping? Am I blind? There they are. So yeah, these weren't really a part of that. But even if they were, I mean, they could have been EMP'd and then sniped, and then the tanks. At this point, the Zerg also, keep in mind, doesn't really see all of this. So it's not like you're a Terran and you scan and you say, oh, that's where the tanks are. Maybe I can get a good concave and I'll take care of this. This ghost is wrecking face, and it is literally not even cloaked. But the main engagement was happening as well. My bad, guys. 18 drones go down, as well as most of Reynor's army. Look at that supply. Old reliable supply, not looking so hot for the Zerg player. Byun might have lost his forward footing with the tanks, but still has some of them left over, still has the very defensive setup on this high ground plateau situation, and knows that he is certainly constrained Reynor's economy. Right side base isn't being replaced. Gold base is starting to mine out, and the left side just had a bunch of drones die to a ghost that actually was visible. Just the queen was too lazy to go try to attack it. And now Reynor, technically only down 10 army supply because of all those drones dying, right? So, well, now more like 20 army supply. You would hope has a chance, but that's not really how that's going to work out. Unless those Vipers get something amazing happening. We're talking about Ling Hydra, a very basic, not even complete basic Zerg army because we're missing Banelings, against a very high technology, expensive Terran army that is tanks and ghosts, which don't even have very much else, but that's all you need right now. Little lurker harassment's always good for the soul. You do you, lurker. This is a nice setup here. We'll say this is a nice setup. The Lings come from behind. They grab those tanks. The blinding clouds take out the tanks from potentially doing anything, and the Hydras were intending to take something more on the high ground. But despite that being a pretty prime setup for a Zerg player, the punish is still there. They still have to sacrifice for it. The ghosts, some of them still ran away. Some of them got the snipes down. Reynor just can't replace it after that. If Reynor was mining off of this base, this base, this base, and this base during that engagement, with 55 drones, not 34, it could be one of the closest games of the year, but instead, what briefly crept down to 20, 30 army supply difference is now all the way up to a 60 lickety split, because Byun still has pretty consistent mining. So Byun gonna take game number 2 as well, and move on to map number 3. Top left of Gresvan, it is Reynor. Bottom right up 2-0, it is Byun. Pretty cool game last game. Pretty cool. And the first game was also really quite nice, so pretty happy with this TVZ. Not gonna lie, sometimes I enter into a TVZ and I'm very, very scared of it being a very boring. The Terran kind of tried, but not really. Mid-game attack into a late-game turtle. But that's not so much a fear with Byun. Byun is usually a guy who does something aggressive as an opener, or just in general the way that he wants to take the engagements. So he did eventually kind of acknowledge a necessity of a transition, of a pacing style difference, I guess, when going into those tanks, but it was all good. Still made it work, still used its strengths, and particularly on that map, I think found some really nice places to abuse those tanks. Not nearly as important in the early game, or even really towards the mid-game, I guess. Those tank positionings. They abused the 6th and the 7th. But hey, if the game goes that long, that is a good spot. So another 2 racks opener, and actually another 3 racks opener. Sell that SCV. I saw you, buddy. So a 3 racks opener. Gresvan's a larger map. I do like it, though. I think that there are the strengths and the weaknesses really combining together, so that's, yes, it could go one way or another to certain players or to certain races. You know, eventually we'll get the stats in from professional games, and it'll clearly say 55% in favor of Terran. Okay, sure. But I like the way that it tries to counteract all of those. And I do think all of the maps do have those... whatchamacallits, those aspects to it, those features to it, where it's clearly not Joe Schmo 2011 number 50 map on the ladder games, not Blizzard sanctioned, all that stuff, where it's clear that they did not anticipate certain problems. Map makers are anticipating certain problems, but we are still shifting more to more bases and large maps. But anyways, bringing it up because you usually suspect one of these early aggressions to be on a small map, basically, no matter what the race does, what the race is. So you can take away the size of the map if you proxy, and then all's fair. But we are not proxying here. So I'm not sure if Gresfawn's like the longest map in the map pool. We've actually reduced a bit of the map rush distance, so there's not like super long ones, but a little surprised. I guess it did win him at least one game, and I would say that there is even potential to win him it faster. I really was quite scared for Reynor for a while there. Perhaps Byun saw similar things. This isn't tricky, which I also think could have been a cool idea, to 3 racks, then normal game-ish, then into a 2 racks, and kind of get Reynor to over-defend. Oh, it is actually straight into that 3 racks. So Command Center is going to come down on location yet again as we have fully walled off. No fear of the run-by Reaper micro going on. As you would expect from the likes of Byun, because he do what he do. And we do have a lot of open space in mains. So, and you know what? Actually, some of the mains even have really large Reaper hop-up spots. I mean, I guess this one included, it's not just 2 or 3 spaces. So not only do you guarantee more of your Reapers hop up in more of a concave, you also get more space to run around, especially outside of that creep. So this could be a growing trend. Or it could still be a Byun thing, we'll see. That was kind of difficult to watch. It might not seem like a lot of damage was done, because only now is the drone count growing, but that was obviously a lot of nothing happening in Reynor's favor. His queens were on a chase that was futile, and his lings were on a chase that ultimately ended in their death. They just weren't enough of them. Now the queens are like, okay, here we go again. Yeah, alrighty then. Yeah, that's not going so hot. The queens go down again. Yeah, finally that creep tumor is going to be placed. But also a very big difference from that first game was that Reynor was unable to sneak out a drone and get that 3rd base forming. Again, you're not going to kill a building with Reapers 9 times out of 10. But you can easily deny a drone. Easily. Even if it requires a little bit of fancy footwork or maybe 1 Reaper killed, I suppose. It could still absolutely be worth it. And there's nothing that Reynor can really do. And what he's going to do, take the other 3rd base? That's not really so much an option on this map. And even then, the Reapers could very well find it before it actually be complete to hatchery. So it's a very awkward position for Reynor. Things have gone, I want to say, worse. And if he takes a bad fight like he did in that first game, it's going to go way bad. That's no creep tumor. Did extend the problems of the Reapers. And now it seems like we have the queens in position, the lings in position, and all's well that ends well? Kind of. The Reapers are going to try their best to take a good engagement, but they were between a rock and a hard place. A ling and a queen place. Ended up being pretty good for Reynor, but all of those other things that I always try to bring up right for Zerg, look at the actual things that matter. That 3rd base only just started, 25 drones, that one sacrifices itself against 37 workers. Byun's been mining on 2 bases the entire time. He knows that he's pretty much only in trouble if he gets broken. It's really hard to break a Terran with a full wall when you don't have banlings. And it looks like Byun is even wondering, is this guy just going to literally 2-base all in me? Because he's been on 2 bases and he's clearly not in a good position. So he is preparing for a potential. It's not even there. Didn't even have to worry. Ain't no thing. But there's almost no downside to this. 200 minerals that get salvaged eventually. Yes, it does mess up your build a little bit, but it does get salvaged eventually. And again, that kind of guarantee, basically guarantee, that you did enough damage to the Zerg that it doesn't matter. Gotta really work on enunciating the Zerg. It's so easy to say the Zerg. The Zerg. Anyhow. And now we don't have those Reapers combining with the Medivacs to go up into the main base and float around like they did in the first game. I still think that it is a better start for Byun, and that will eventually still lead into fairly consistent aggression, right? So there's a little bit more of a pause for Reynor in this game than perhaps the first one, where the Reapers are still running around doing their stuff, but it's not made up for. It's still very bad because of the way the opening went out. So Byun should be feeling good. Some of the things that could screw him up, obviously bad engagements. Lose all 16 Marines to a couple of banlings, that's bad. Run-bys, game's getting really frantic really fast. Could still happen. But that's where I, again, like this map for Terran's perspective, is that this 3rd base feels somewhat protected. By that, I mean the options for run-bys aren't ample. It's not just like literally there's a ramp here, and a ramp there, you know, something like that. Which is 3 entries into this very vulnerable third base. You gotta really go quite far down south before entering through this pathway. This pathway is often where they're attacking, case in point, right through the middle. And the north side also takes quite a while to get to. But this attack is looking pretty good. It's really going to trade out well against the Lings here. That +1 working wonders alongside the Medivacs healing. The Queens added in will be just enough to stop this from snowballing. But Reynor just lost a hell of a lot of Lings. 82 Lings in total in this game. And that's on top of him not really having a solid drone count to begin with. So it's all going to be very worrying. Byun has chosen to go into tanks. Thank you very much. I do think this is the abusable spot for tanks. Not that Reynor is about to get this base anyways, but he has just lost that creep spread there. There's also another abusable spot. Oh no, I'm thinking of the wrong map. Am I though? No. I'm thinking of the right one. Yeah, if he gets the equivalent of this base, of this situation. There we go, there it is. But yeah, only if Reynor was to take this one as his 5th. We'll get there if we do get there, but the point is right now it is about this attack path, and the 2 tanks are definitely not where I was imagining they would be positioned. I was certainly imagining them, well, basically anywhere else. They gain nothing from hitting here, because again, there's no base, but still, they're very far off to the right, very far. But that also means that they're going to get a lot of shots as the Zerg tries to run down the ramp. So it's a little more awkward for them to go this, kind of like an S, than maybe perhaps just an L. So I can see that. We do have an attempt to catch the reinforcements with the Lings, which was probably the best thing that Reynor could do. Catch a tank, that'd be great. Not gonna happen, and there are more reinforcements beyond that. I do think, again, other maps might have some more opportunities to try and dig in, even with reinforcements, but this case, no, not at all, especially with the supply depot left on the left side. Thank you, Oriental Habit, for that gifted sub. And we have the continued rallying forward. It's going to be tough. It's going to be brutal. Reynor needs to dislodge this some other way than trying to tackle it head on. Doesn't think it's going to go very well. The Queens will buy some time alongside whatever Banelings are left at home. And then a more sizable Ling-Baneling run-by is about to hit at third base. But I feel like Byun is clearly already on to the tricks. And he has defended appropriately. Not just Marines, which aren't being controlled. So, yeah, whoopsie-daisy. But tanks as well. The Queens are no longer holding their own. Their transfuses are gone. Most of them have died, I think, over half. And now we finally have the attempted bust. Those tanks have gotten quite a few shots, but some of the Banelings still connecting. But the tanks, wow, they took a long time to die. Wow, they got a couple extra shots on top of what they actually should have. The Banelings still left over are going to be enough. Maybe not off creep against Byun's micro. Got to be a little careful about that. But they are going to be enough to push this away. And Reynor can hopefully get back to more of the mechanics, and in particular, that creep spread. But Byun is at a very, 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 very steady supply. 150, 160 almost to 120. Fourth base is on the way, actually going to the very top right. I would also accept this one, I think. There might be some downsides to this, so that's fine. But also starting to multitask a little bit more. Double drop to the left side, not going to do a whole lot. And the right side got AI'd. Almost 100% they got AI'd. Whoops-a-daisy. That's the new map. Probably working a little bit against Byun there. The run-by has hits before the planetary was done. Kills 10, 11? Nope, you should have died. Should have been 11 SCPs. Come on. Get him. No, it's not attacking. It's not gonna get killed. Son of a bitch. Alright, 10 SCVs go down. You get to live. Double drop to the left is cancel. Another base attempt from Reynor. If he does get forced to take this base, we got the problems of these tanks. If he takes this base, we got the problems of these tanks. So I can see why I'd want to take the base way, way, way down to the bottom left. I don't know. That's really going to get too much easier to defend. That's still a ways away, even for some speedy Lings. And it's going to be a constant points of which Reynor has to defend. That was nice. That was a bit of a freebie. Queen's in the right place at the right time. But continued pressure to the top side is just difficult to dislodge. It's always something that's a bit more of a puzzle to figure out than just simply, do I have the numbers? Okay, let's go. In this case, the puzzle a little bit easier as the Marines are over to the far left. Tanks are going to get all the shots that they can, but the Marines are really where it's at. They take down the hatchery. Will not be able to save their tank buddies, but they will be able to escape in the medevacs. 8 drones go down, hatchery goes down, but Reynor is finishing this one to the top right. and is back to getting this one on the bottom left. So wherever that medevac drop went, I don't know. It has joined up with its medevac buddies. That's what it did. Byun now still at 40-ish plus supply lead. 18 of that in workers, by the way. That's not a good sign for a Zerg player. And Reynor is, technically he's getting to Hive, but I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to do with that. Because yes, even 3 Vipers, if you can squeeze that out, could be insanely helpful. And if you're great with the control, then maybe they last forever, you don't need to replace them. But gas is a serious issue for Reynor. Having lost so many bases, been forced to pull drones every so often, and just in general not taking all of the gases that he could. Yeah, the main base missing one, and the actual missing one. Just staying on 3 gases, was it? Oh, there's 4th and 5th down here, okay. I mean, still, clearly we have an imbalance as we try to reach up towards Hive. And that's going to be a problem. What are you actually going to be able to afford? Not even upgrades, engagements. Oh, God. Potentially going to depend on those Wood of Mines, but they were quite clumped up, so Banelings explode on them and kill all 5 that were there. Oh, that last second target fire. I thought Byun wasn't paying attention, and he got me, man. Wood of Mine is actually on the left side as well, going for a drop. Somewhat nicely handled, actually. Could have been way worse. 5 drones in total going down. That Wood of Mine not going to get a shot. Byun now, I think, would be good going for just the top. I guess he has moved away from tanks, is the thing. So he's not so much abusing some of these tank spots anymore. But very mobile, very fast-paced, very momentum-based. Bio, we don't mind. Continuing to apply pressure, very similar to the last few games. Where Reynor has a lack of creep spread that can get very, very difficult to overcome. I don't think his Hive technology is actually going to help him very much. Vipers, I don't think would help him very much now. I mean, parasitic bombs are great. Blinding clouds can still affect bio, so on and so forth, but see why you wouldn't go for those. But then ultras, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think there's any way out of this for Reynor. Everything is going to be difficult, no matter what he chooses to do. Base to the bottom left never even got to mining. Just gets taken down by the triple drop. Baneling's gonna actually get some connections. Byun a little late to noticing as he was making from the front line. Trying to save those Marauders, which finally do get taken down. And it looks like the bottom left still gonna be harassing. The drops threaten someplace or another. Engagement on the top side. It's a little messy. In fact, very messy. Byun, quick reinforcements, however, is gonna unload, continue hitting this point while also trying to do damage on the left side. That's not going so well. Reynor is very close to being able to handle this, but it looks like injects are a problem. Banking 1600 minerals, and it looks like gas is still a problem, so it's not like you can go ahead and just make a bunch of ultras all willy-nilly. And I see maybe a disturbing lack of banelings as well. In fact, that was almost the last one. There is literally one more available. The Marauder count is so chunky, man. It's so difficult to actually take down. And that means that if we do even see ultras being made, say 2 ultras pop out, what are they gonna do? Pop out into the awaiting arms of the Marauder? It's not gonna be a good time. That's not fun. Reynor once again gonna try and take this bottom left base. It is really quite a jump. So probably not supposed to be the one you take. And I would say that when I do see Zergs, they are taking this one as their 5th or 6th, but... And I think this actually would be the much better option, especially now that we moved away from tanks. I can still see why it's difficult and so on and so forth, but this actually might have been the better option. A little bit more secure, a little bit closer to the chest, to the main rally point of the Zerg, but maybe it's all a moot point as Byun now focuses his attention over to the left side. Quick cancel the bottom left. That's never going to mine. I bet $20 that actually never gets mining. And then also denies this base, of course. Liberator harassment doesn't look like he did too much. Ling's gonna try and find something, and they do find something. Planetary not quite finished. Byun's been finished on a 3-3 for a while. I guess at this point should be moving on to building upgrades, but ooh, look at that. 4 extra factories, guys. Total of 5. Total of 6. Total of 6 factories. Damn. That's a lot. What is displayed on your screens right now is a notable lack of factory units, though, funnily enough. Only 2 Wood of Mines, one already popped. Looks like some of the reinforcing ghosts went over to try and handle this Ling run by, which they could not do. But don't fear, guys. Even if that went down, Command Center wasn't lifted or something, look how many extra bases Byun has. It's not a big deal. We'll get that eventually. As we do finally see some of the ultras make an appearance. Note how tiny they are, little babby ultras. It's a boo-boo. They're so skinny. They're like teenagers. But they're less awkward than teenagers, actually. They are more agile than their adult counterparts. Which is quite a buff to them, really. They now work fluidly with the Ling Baneling. To be clear, I don't think it makes them like super insanely strong. And I still think Byun is very well set up to deal with them, but it is a thing. Wow, he built a decent amount of tanks and he never got +1 attack. He got +1 armor. Fair enough. Anyways, now going on to a +1 attack, also getting personal cloaking, as well as the building upgrades, and finally getting that planetary on the 11:30 position up and running. Once again, hitting the middle part of the map. Reynor, I mean, a lot of this has been just following Byun back and forth, as well as definitely trying more run-by attempts in some of the previous maps. Not being super successful, but definitely going for more opportunities there. But yeah, the last thing that seems to be able to be paid attention to, right, as the queens are also pulled often to help defend, has been creep spread. It's not really going anywhere too far. Byun seems to always arrive whenever Reynor thinks, okay, his creep can finally go out this avenue. Not so much. Perhaps a bit of a bigger attack than Byun was expecting, or perhaps actually perfect. That was actually kind of a perfectly split army. The Ultras go kaplut. Go splat. Ling Baneling takes the defeat as it is and runs back home. And things do settle for a little while. Reynor is maxed out. They both have a similar-ish bank, which would not put the Zerg in a good position, but I'm just saying, Reynor has not died. Seems to be what I'm saying a lot in this festive. Reynor's not dead. It's really impressive that he's not dead. But has he ever really been in the more dominating position? Have I feared for Byun at any point more than I feared for Reynor? I don't think so. I do not recall that. He went double armory as well. He's got 2-2 on the way. How about that? Reynor's finally finishing up his own 3-3. Which has been a long time coming. And now Byun, it's kind of worrying that his expansion path is meeting up with the attack path. That's always quite a concern. It really makes the Terran pushes quite strong when they can push into and move back away from your opponent's base into their own planetary. And it does leave the very bottom of the map a little bit vulnerable. And looks like Byun has picked up on that as well as he gets a last-second kill. Not cancel there. And he's adding a planetary to help that out, which I think is great. I think if he starts banking a decent amount of minerals, I think go ahead and even add an engineering base here. I think it'd be super annoying. The Zerg player tries to finally run by this base and there's actually a wall so the units derp out. That'd be great. But not a priority right now. And honestly, maybe it could have been. Maybe Reynor should have hit that point a little bit more, but it really has been one of the least touched locations on this map at 6 o'clock. 12 o'clock is where it's at, man. We do have the Zerg swarm coming down on. The planetaries are yet to be planetaries. They'd be a lot better if they're already done. They're all going to go down instead. Ultra is left for the job. Cancels are going to happen at the last second to perhaps save some of these, but this one does get killed, and Byun is forced to just really accept his losses there. He realized things were not going his way, skedaddles, put himself into better Sim City, and then is going to reset, basically. And a reset can be awfully concerning when the Terran player is already struggling, when the Zerg player has a quick remax, whatever. But in this case, Reynor did actually straight up win that fight. There was a lot left over for him. He didn't actually kill enough for Byun to say, okay, job well done. That was still not technically job well done. Easy replacements on the planetaries, easy collection back up to max for Byun, and still a lot of the same strengths to this position as before. Except perhaps now Byun will be a little more prepared for the engagements, whereas maybe he was missing some particular setup, order of operations in the last engagement. Also, we do see the inclusion of the Hellbats, which seems to be the new big thing for the Terran side. Woo! New things. I myself am not totally convinced by their addition, but I do see the appeal of them. They are really cheap. And even though they are as splashable as the rest of the bio army, they do tank a decent amount of banelings. This, I think, is where Byun really wanted to have the fight, to abuse it. It's the line of banelings rolling in as the tanks continued firing. The bio able to pull back through the choke so that they're still available once the Ling baneling is gone to focus fire down the ultras. That's what you want there. And Reynor initially probably filled with euphoria, like, oh my god, I'm doing it, I'm coming in. Byun's retreating, let's go for it. Is quickly dismayed. It's quickly sad. His ultras die, his queens get taken down, they're off creep temporarily, they're not going to transfuse anyways. Sometimes I forget that's a thing. And the Ling reinforcements might not just be enough. Okay, maybe they are. Maybe they are just enough, but look at that bank. Reynor is not going to be replacing his army very soon, whereas Byun is. Well, as quick as a Terran player can anyways. That's an orbital, not even a planetary. Well, you know, who needs planetaries? We have 1 billion orbitals. Lose an orbital, take an orbital. It's like you need a penny, take a penny, right? Orbitals aplenty. How many are we talking about? 15 orbitals. That's a lot of orbitals. So, you know, the fact that we were at one point, I think, on 85 SCVs. Or maybe just 80, but still, we were pretty high SCV count. Definitely not necessary now. 66 does seem more in line. Perhaps even lower. Perhaps even a wee bit lower on the SCVs. Just a wee drab. Again, this portion of the map entirely unused. I will bet, I don't know how many dollars. I will bet $2 that this will be a more used position on the map when Reynor plays in Katowice. I'm just talking about Reynor specifically because that's the current player that is playing. But yes, there's a lot of reasons why this point of the map has not been super important for this game and the way that the battles take place. Really play into that and so on and so forth. I would imagine, especially before this planetary was involved, so this would be hammered a little bit more. But yeah, in this case, not at all. Not at all. $2 whole, yeah. Well, if I request a $2 bill, that would actually be quite a pain to find, so that's the real value. Another big engagement. Those ghosts are awfully vulnerable. They do get all of the EMPs on the Vipers. Was it worth it? I would say not if it was just about the ghosts versus army. But look at that tank count. Holy shit. I don't think Reynor was expecting that. And they were all... That was like cinematic levels, right? Because usually what happens, again, is that a tank depth can be a weakness. You come in through a line up to north to south, and some of these tanks aren't firing. That was like cinematic levels of you're abusing a choke point. Every tank was firing on that choke point. So yes, the ghosts might have been vulnerable. It might have been worth, in a lot of other situations, to go ahead and collapse in on that. As the Zerg player, not so sure it was there. Their EMP, you know, did take the Vipers out of the equation, so they couldn't go for the Blinding Clouds of the Abducts here. But I'm not even sure having 5 Vipers full of energy would have been enough. Because don't forget, there was also Sim City right here. That was pretty insane. The Vipers lived through an EMP. That's the good news here for Reynor. Not that gas is his problem, but he's actually quite low on minerals. And is actually going to be even lower as he loses one of his last mining bases. He's going to lose it no matter what. It's very, very low on minerals. And I would say the bonus, the plus side of this portion of the map not being used has been that it's not been used. So Reynor finally getting around to it might have gotten away with even 2 bases, kind of for free. I mean, I don't think the Terran players even come down here. I don't think so. He might have been able to sneak these 2 bases in a lot sooner. But now, as Byun has very much secured the top side, he's going to start getting suspicious, want to take some of the left side for his own bases, as well as for his own attacks. And that's not going to be free anymore. Byun also rolling in cash. Has replaced the ghosts very easily. He's abusing this position because we once again are on tanks. So the Vipers become obviously an absolute necessity. There's 4 of them still alive, but the ghosts are there to EMP at a moment's notice. Getting some free snipes. Kind of free. 1 ghost dies, but also gets EMPs. There's more EMPs. All of the Vipers out of energy. Not going to help. One of the most brutal chokes on the map. And Reynor, that is the death GG moment right there. There was no other way to explain that one. He knew he was done. He was like, fuck it. Let's just see how this looks. Let's just watch blood and carcass all over the map. All over this choke. That's fun. And it was kind of fun. I actually appreciate that. That is what that looks like, guys. GG. Best of 5. Byun wins it 3-0. That's why I got bamboozled. It's a simple bamboozle, but it's an effective bamboozle.